Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to the Specialist Trading Educational Presentation. Now, this last month has been rather difficult for a lot of traders. The market's pretty much gone straight down, and I know a lot of you are suffering. A lot of your methods and techniques, maybe you've designed yourself or gotten from another educator, really haven't worked. Well, today I want to talk to you about a technique that can really get your trading back on track. It's extremely simple. I'm going to show you a few examples right now. Let's look at this chart in SAVA, S-A-V-A, okay? Now, most traders looking at it, once again, would say, it's a sideways market, Steve. There's really nothing to tell here. There's no clues as to what it wants to do. I'll pretty much leave this alone. But the technique I'm going to teach you today actually generated a buy signal right here and another one right here before a 20-point gain in just 1 week. Now, this works to the downside as well. We all remember what happened last week. The Fed made an announcement about interest rates and the market fell out of bed, okay, continued going down. But what if I told you that this technique I'm going to share with you actually generated a sell signal 2 days in advance of the Fed announcement, so that you were potentially able to capture upwards of 25 points in the spiders? And that represented, as we know, thousands of points in the Dow Jones. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, a technique that could get your trading back on track. And this technique is easily accessible on our platform, the PTS Primo charting platform that I designed and developed with Pro Trader Strategies to make trading simple and to teach you how to trade. So welcome to today's educational presentation. My name is Steven Primo, president and founder of Specialist Trading. I've been trading for 45 years now. I started out my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange, where I was a specialist. That's where we get the name Specialist Trading. A specialist is someone who specialized in making markets, roughly in about 50 or 60 stocks. So I did that for 9 years on the floor, and I traded through the crash of '87 and the bull market after that. So in my 45 years of trading, I've seen just about every market environment you can think of. Crashes, straight up market, sideways market. On top of that, I've seen just about every trading method you can think of. In fact, most trading methods that are new or you see advertised around the web have most likely been around before. They've just been rebranded or renamed. So in my 45 years of experience of trading, I know what works in terms of consistency and I know what doesn't. So that is the purpose we serve at Specialist Trading at Pro Trader Strategies. We provide students around the world in over 115 countries in every state in the United States all the tools, tips, techniques that I've accumulated that have high levels of consistency. And then we work with you, teaching you how to apply them, different ways, different variables, so that you can ultimately be in charge of your own trading. That's really what it's about. And that's what our goal is, so that you can make your own trading decisions. You'll see that in today's educational presentation. Now, before we begin, as always, we are required to first show you this. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using this proprietary technique, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. Also, please remember, since we are an educational company, first and foremost, that all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. I see a lot of new names here today. If you haven't done so already, please feel free to follow us on Twitter. There's our handle right there if you'd like to copy it down. Every day I post different information, anywhere from chart examples of signals or techniques that our methods have generated to bits of financial wisdom to help you along the way. So there's lots of great free education on a daily basis. So please feel free to follow us on Twitter if you haven't done so already. Now remember, as I stated, we are an educational company. What does that mean? Well, it means that if you've come here today thinking that I'm going to tell you what the market's going to do, is it going to go straight up now, or is it going to go straight down some more, or if it's going to go sideways, or what I think the perfect stock is to buy or the perfect market is to trade, you've come to the wrong place. Remember, an educator, as in an educational company, an educator does not do that. He simply teaches you how to trade. So that's my goal as a mentor, as an educator. Not to force feed you signals the way some other websites do, not to have a chat room or a trade room so that you can blindly mimic or copy whatever it is I say. That's a disservice to you. You're not learning anything. My goal is simply to provide you with the tools and techniques so that I can teach you how to trade. This is the specialist edge. This is the same edge I was taught when I first started trading on the floor. My mentors showed me the exact same things that I teach my students. Hopefully, you'll be able to become a consistent trader where you're not only having just a couple of good weeks or a good month, maybe even a good year, but we want to instill a good decade in you, or maybe a couple of good decades in you, okay? That's my goal. Now, before we begin today's educational class, a few announcements. Remember, this is a static presentation, Zoom presentation. This is not an interactive one. So please disable all cameras and microphones. Okay, this isn't an interactive one where we're going to be sharing our videos and pictures and talking whenever we'd like to. But I do want you to ask questions, but please wait till the end. You can go to the chat box or to the question and answer box to ask your questions, and I will get to them. But let's wait till the very end. I have, I think, about 160 slides today to share with you, a lot of examples. So I don't want to stop for every slide to answer a question, all right? Lastly, I'll answer the most important question right now, and that is this being recorded? Yes, it is. All of our presentations are recorded. You will be sent a link so that you can watch this whenever you like, okay? So if you have to leave early, or if you're having technical issues, maybe your internet connection is not that strong, don't worry. Each and every one of you will be sent a link to this recording, okay? So remember, once again, disable all cameras and microphones and wait till the end to ask any questions. All right, let's begin today's educational presentation. I'd like to start out by sharing with you something that my mentors taught me, and they said the secret to consistency is simply to want what the market wants. Unfortunately, we're always taught the opposite, right? We're always taught, well, the market's gone up too high, so what you got to do is sell so that you can get out at the very top, or go short at the very top. You go against the market. Or it's gone down too low, right? It's oversold, all right? So you got to buy here, because it looks like the market wants to go lower, but we're buying at the bottom because we have said that it's not going to go any lower, okay? That is really silly. Unfortunately, that's the way we're all taught to trade. I was taught that way when I first started trading, not by my mentors, but by just the people around me. And it really doesn't work. There's no consistency. Sure, every once in a while, you'll pick a top or a bottom. But over time, if you trade that way, you're eventually going to give it all back. There's no consistency in not wanting what the market wants. Basically, we have to figure out what the market wants to do and then just jump on board. So if the market wants to go higher, then we become a buyer. We only look for buy signals, whatever strategy or technique we're trading. If the market wants to go lower, then we only look for sell signals. That's it. It's really not that difficult. In fact, that's all we're supposed to do as traders. But we always make it more complicated than it has to be. And we also don't understand how to want what the market wants, because we're never taught that. We're always taught to listen to the earnings or the financial news, or listen to some guy in a chat room. We're never taught to listen to what the market is telling us. For example, we'll look at this chart here, and someone would say, oh yeah, Steve, it's going down. I just want to be a seller, or I don't want to be involved in this. And then this happens, right? So in order to get in sync with what the market wants, you need a tool that is translating what the market wants to do, right? We don't need to figure out what the jobless claims are going to be. We don't need to figure out what some guy on TV is telling us about earnings. We simply need a tool that's translating what the chart in front of us wants to do. That's it. Keep it simple. Now, that tool is the PET-D. This is something I was introduced to some 40 years ago on the floor by my mentors. And I talk about it all the time because I use it in my daily trading. But if you haven't gone to any of my webinars or seen me speak about the PET-D, well, let me explain to you exactly what it is. First of all, it's a proprietary algorithm. The reason why we've made it proprietary is because it's tremendously cumbersome to figure out and to calculate. I wouldn't ask of my students to calculate this, because the way I had to with a hand calculator, it's just too difficult. So with the help of high-speed computers and programmers, we've developed it into a color bar tool. So what it does is it colors the bars either green or red to tell you what direction it wants to go, all right? Now, we can use this many different ways. There are literally dozens, if not hundreds of ways to apply the PET-D, because it's such a powerful tool. One of the simplest ways is to confirm your signal. In other words, whenever you get a signal, whatever strategy you're using, if it's a buy signal, you want it to be confirmed by the PET-D. I've talked about that in other presentations. It's very simple. If you get a sell signal, you want it to be confirmed. But today we're going to talk about something different. We're going to talk about the simplest way to use the PET-D, and that's as an early trend detector. Because in my 45 years of trading, I have never found anything. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's another algorithm, could be moving averages, could be a pattern, makes no difference. I have never found anything in over 4 decades of trading that comes to meeting the PET-D and detecting when a trend is about to begin or to end. That's the beauty of the PET-D. It is so sensitive, It's literally translating on a tick-by-tick basis what the market wants to do. For example, let's look at that chart again in Zion. This older chart went straight down and straight up, right? Now, usually old, worn out indicators or tools are too late in telling us when a trend is about to change. Now, even though the PET D doesn't pick the exact top or the exact bottom, remember, it's better than anything I've seen. Now, what it does is it paints the bars red for a downtrend and green for an uptrend. So once we click it on our platform, it's as simple as clicking on PET D, the colors automatically change. And what you're looking for is a series of anywhere from 3 to 5 consecutive red bars. Right here, we have 3 to tell us it's going lower. And 3 to 5 consecutive green bars. Right here, we have 3 green bars to tell us it wants to go higher. So as it says, the beauty of the PET D is that it tells you, it translates which direction you should be trading. Once you know which direction, you can apply any technique that is in sync with that direction. You see how simple trading has now become? We didn't talk about any economic news. We didn't talk about any fundamental information. We didn't have to listen to some guy in a chat room. It's right in front of you on the chart. That's how simple trading can be when you learn how to listen to the market. Okay, so if we can apply any technique with the PET D, let me share with you this technique. Extremely simple, but you'll see how powerful it is using the PET D. Now, one thing I want to just clarify for all of you who aren't familiar, a technique is different from a strategy or a system. You see, a system or a strategy comes with all the rules, including where to enter, where to exit, where to place your stop, how to money manage the trade. That's all that's needed. Those are all the different pieces of the puzzle required for a valued trading method, okay? A technique is different in that all it does is highlight or put a spotlight on a high probability point of entry. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. These are going to be high probability points of entry. How you decide to enter, how you decide to exit, how you decide to place your stop is entirely up to you. The good thing is that's what we do. We teach you all these different things in our courses. But since this is a free webinar, we can't give away all of the family secrets. So we're just sharing with you the highlighted points of entry, okay? All right, so here's what a buy setup looks like if you want to go long. All right, first of all, 2 green bars are generated. All right, so if we look, here we have bar number 1 and bar number 2. Makes no difference if they're both going up or both going down, really makes no difference, but they have to be 2 bars. Now, what we want to do is see that they're both green next to each other. All right, if this is an up day, we want to see the bar outlined green. If this is a down day, we want to see it painted green. But it makes no difference if they're both up or both down. Actually makes no difference, but they have to be both painted green. Now, here's the second part of the setup. Once we find 2 green bars next to each other, we want to find that green bar number 2, the second bar in the series, closes below the low of green bar number 1. Okay, so what does that mean? All right, so here's bar number 1, here's green bar number 2. Now we want to see that we are below the low of bar number 1. So here's the low of bar number 1, okay? And we want to see that bar number 2 closes below, which it did. It closes below bar number 1. So what's that telling us? It's saying that this is a high probability buy setup. So you can decide to buy wherever you'd like. It's up to you, but that's just a spotlight on a high probability buy area, okay? Let's look at the other side of the coin for selling. What we want to do now is identify 2 red bars generated right next to each other, okay? So once again, it makes no difference if one is down, one is up. They can both be up, they can both be down. Makes no difference, but they both have to be colored or outlined red, okay? Once we identify 2 red bars next to each other, then we want to see that red bar number 2 bar in the series, closes above the high of red bar number 1. All right, so if we look back at these 2 bars, here's bar number 1, and here's the high of bar number 1. We want to see that bar number 2 closes above, which it did right here. So what's that telling us? It's saying that this is a high probability sell setup. You could sell on the close. If it closes red, you could place a limit somewhere here to sell, seeing it that it goes lower. You could place a limit below. It's entirely up to you. We have upwards of 7 different points of entry in our courses to teach you. But remember, right now, we're just talking about a spotlight on a high probability buy and sell setup, okay? So let's look at some of these recent technique examples, show you some of these things that happened in the last month. Some of them happened in the last week, okay? And remember, everything you're seeing is displayed coming from the PTS Primo charting platform. That makes trading this technique extremely simple. Why? Because everything is one click away. All right, so let's look at some buy examples first. And we all know the market's been going straight down. So when you see these buy examples, the gains are not going to be that much because there haven't been a lot of buy examples. Because why? Well, because the market, for all intents and purposes, the majority of the stocks have been going lower. So it's been like pulling teeth to find some buy setups, but we still found some for you. For example, let's look at this example in CEG. All right, this was last month coming into September. Now, the stock has been going up, looks really good, right? But it's kind of faltering right here. So maybe that guy in the chat room says, hey, this uptrend is running out of steam. You've got to get out. If you're long, say thank you. You had a nice trade, but the market looks like it's tired and it looks like it wants to roll over, okay? That's the way most of us usually trade. We take our signal from what someone else is telling us, right? But what is the market telling us? What is the translator telling us? Well, on our platform, click on Pet D and the colors automatically change. In fact, all the colors are green. So that's telling us that we're still in an uptrend. Remember, we need 3 to 5 consecutive red bars to tell us that we want to go lower. And so far, we don't even have any red bars. Now we want to look for that 2-bar pattern, okay? Remember, we want to find 2 bars right next to each other, and we want to see that bar number 2 closes below bar number 1, okay? Well, we don't see it so far, but what do we have right here? All right, here's bar number 1, bar number 2 closes lower, and if we find the low of bar number 1, that's the low. Yeah, we closed below that, so that's a buy setup right there. So we see that really nothing happened in the next 3 or 4 days, but look what we have again, another technique setup, bar number 1 and bar number 2. Here's the low of bar number 1, and we closed just below there, so there's another buy setup, okay? So we have 2 buy setups very close to one another. And in the following days, we had a 10-point gain. Not a lot because we know the market has been coming straight down, but here's a stock that has been bucking the trend. Now, if you miss those 2, guess what? Look at all the setups that were generated after that. Here's another example in GPC, all right? Once again, the stock has been going higher. Someone could say, well, you know, we've been in a nice little uptrend. And that guy in that trading room says, be careful, because once we break this uptrend, that's when we're going to roll over and come straight down. And look what happens on the very next bar. The trend has been broken, right? So this is the way we're always taught to trade. If we break the trend, we sell, right? Once again, we only teach you things that have high levels of consistency. There's really no level of consistency in that method. I traded that way for years, and I couldn't make a dime using, you know, downtrends and uptrends using some type of uptrend or downtrend line. What is the market telling us? You know, what is the translator saying to us? Well, it's as easy as clicking on the Pet D once again, and when the colors change, it's still telling us it wants to go higher. You see how simple this is? We don't have to listen to economic reports. You don't have to listen to some earnings. The market is telling us, I want to go higher. I don't care what everyone else is saying. I don't care if you think it's a breakout to the downside. I want to go higher until I show you 3 red bars. So we look for that 2-bar pattern. All right, we're looking here, we're looking here. We don't see it until, well, until the very spot where we thought it's breaking down. This is the 2-bar pattern because bar number 1 low is right here. And look where we closed, just below it. So that, where most traders would say, well, that's a breakdown. This technique coming from the market itself is telling you that's a buy setup, okay? You can buy wherever you'd like. Maybe if you want to be more conservative, wait till it breaks out above, maybe buy at the market on the close, maybe put a lower limit. It's up to you. But that is highlighting a buy area. And look what happened. The stock went up 20 points coming into the end of August. Guess what? If you missed that one, you had 2 more examples to get back into the trade. Here's an example in CANO, okay? This is an inexpensive $7 stock. Someone could say, well, it's overbought here. You know, we had a nice run up, but most likely going to come settle back down to these levels. But if we apply the Pet D, we see that originally the bars were red, then they changed to green. We have that 2-bar setup right here. Here's the low of bar number 1. We close below and both bars are green. So this is actually a buy. So where everyone is saying, we're a little overbought, it's time to get out, you actually could have bought. Now, nothing happened in the next 3 days, but you have another setup right here. Bar number 1, bar number 2. There's the low of bar number one. We close below. Both bars are green. So you could have doubled up on an inexpensive $7 stock and in the next week made 3 points. Now, I know a lot of you are saying 3 points. That's not a lot. I mean, what's the big deal about making 3 points? Well, remember, this is an inexpensive stock. 3 points means that the price gained 45% in 7 days. Think if you had Tesla, think if you had Google, think if you had Apple, and it gained 45% in 7 days. Wouldn't you be happy? So it's all relative as to the price amount. Here's an example in a weekly time frame in AKRO, okay, Akero Therapeutics. Once again, originally the bars were red, and then the market decided to turn green. So this is telling us it wants to go higher. So we look for that 2-bar pattern. Here's the low of bar number one. Bar number two closes below. So on a weekly time frame, in the second week of August, a buy signal was generated, and coming into the second week of September, could have generated an 18-point potential gain. How about SAVA, the chart we looked at earlier at the beginning of the presentation? Once again, looks like absolutely nothing happening, right? A sideways market. You want to stay away from sideways markets, right? That's the way we're all trained, because that's where you get whipsawed. When you buy, they go lower. When you sell, they go higher or go sideways. So what we want to do is stay away, right? Well, not really, because now we have cast away that old traditional style of trading, and we're listening to the market. What is the market telling us? Well, we apply the PED-D, and it's saying that even though we're going sideways, it's true, we're going sideways, we eventually want to go higher because all the bars are green. So this is just a holding pattern before we go higher. So now we look for that 2-bar pattern. All right, we start here. We look for our close below bar number one. And here we have bar number one, bar number two, and then another one, bar number one, bar number two. They're both valid setups to buy. So you could have bought here on the 13th of September and then again on the 16th of September and potentially made 20 points in the next week. Okay, all without the aid of overcomplicating your trading by listening to someone on TV, by trying to figure out what the market's doing and say, well, gosh, you know, the market is really oversold here, but I'm scared because we're crashing. You know, I didn't like the interest rate hike. You know, you see how we overcomplicate things? Listen to the chart in front of you because it tells you all you need to know. Now, let's turn the tables around and look at some extremely successful trades here on the sell side, because we all know the market has been going lower. So how could this have gotten our trading back on track this last month? Well, let's check out Costco. Okay, this was just a couple of weeks ago. Someone looking at this would say, well, we've been coming down and this is major support. You know, Steve, you know, the institutions are buying here. I took that course, and you got to be a buyer. You don't want to go against the institutions. All right, well, let's see what our translator is saying about the institutions. We apply the PED-D, and it's basically telling you we don't really care what the institutions are saying because I want to go lower. And so the market is all you should be listening to. I don't care what the institutions or the banks are doing. I don't care what some guy on TV is saying. The market is the only thing I'm trading, so that's what I should be listening to. So if it's telling me it wants to go lower because all the bars are red, then I look for that 2-bar pattern, all right? And guess what? Here's bar number one, bar number two. Why? Because the high of bar number one right here, or I should say the close of bar number two closes above the high of bar number one. So that's a sell setup. All right. So this was a sell setup on the 19th, just last week. And you could have potentially made 40 points coming in to last Friday. Okay. Not a bad little trade, right? How about this? Here's the FDX. All right. This is coming into September. Someone would say, well, yeah, it looks like we're turning around. Look at Steve, you've got 3 up closes in a row. That's a really good sign, right? Well, not really, because if we apply the PED-D, it doesn't matter if they close up. Each one of these closed up, but they're outlined red. So this is telling you they all closed up in a short-term downtrend. That's like you know, having 3 warm days in the dead of winter. It doesn't mean that winter's over. It just means it's an aberration. Sure, you have 3 days where it's in January, it's 75 degrees. Does that mean winter's over? No. It means it's most likely going to get back to 40, 50 degrees in a couple of days. And so since that's most likely what's going to happen with the market, we want to look for that 2-bar pattern. And we have it right here. Bar number one, bar number two. Here's the high of bar number one. We closed just above. It's hard to see here, but we did. So that's a sell signal. Where everyone else thought, hey, 3 up days in a row is a very good sign. we looked at that as a selling opportunity, and look what happened. 80 points coming into this last week. The good news is, if it's a strong enough trend, you'll find more and more setups as you go along the way. Here was another setup right here, and then another setup just last week. All right, let's look at a weekly chart of Peloton. All right, a lot of people were saying back in October of last year, about a year ago, that, hey, this has bottomed out. It's gone down too far. In fact, we have a doji right here. We have a reversal in effect, right? So I want to go start buying this thing. It's come down enough. It's time to get long Peloton. There's a lot of good news about it. It looks like it may have turned the corner. Well, that's the way we're trained to listen to somebody on TV or somebody in a trading room telling us these things. What is the market saying on a weekly time frame? Well, we apply the PET D, and it's saying, I don't care if you think it's a reversal. All the bars are red. Most likely, there's a high probability we're going lower. So if we're going lower, let's look for that 2-bar pattern. All right, we want to see 2 bars that are painted red right next to each other, where bar number 2 closes above the first bar. And we have it right here. Here's bar number 1, bar number 2, the high of bar number 1, and here's the close above. So that's a sell signal. Everyone else that thought that Peloton was reversing and going back up, we were selling. And 85 points, a full nearly year later, to the downside. Now, I'm not saying you have to short Peloton, but let's say you were long in your portfolio, where everyone else was saying, hey, that was a reversal. It's time to get back in, time to buy some more for your long-term portfolio. You were saying, no, this is a sell signal. I'm exiting right here because it wants to go lower. Now, if you were aggressive enough to go short, or if you had missed that sell signal, the market always gives you more and more chances to get out. All right, let's look at Adobe. All right, here's a classic bottom formation, right? Looks like it's coming here, makes a bottom, starts to go back up. Most traders would say, hey, yeah, this is a classic bottom. It's making a little cup and handle here, saucer formation, one of the classic, technical analysis formations. You've got to buy this. And this is where you really make a lot of money, okay? So we look at this and say, well, is it really a bottom? Well, it looks like it stopped, and for all intents and purposes, it's starting to go back up, so it looks like it may have formed an uptrend. But as we see here, applying the PET D, the majority of the bars are red, and we only have 2 green bars. The last 2 bars have been green. That's not enough. We need 3 to 5 green bars to tell us that an uptrend has begun. So until we have 3 consecutive green bars, we're still looking for that 2-bar pattern. And what do we have here? Right here, here's bar number 1, bar number 2, the high of bar number 1. We close above it, so there's a sell signal. And guess what? We have another one here right next to it, bar number 1, bar number 2. Here's the high of bar number 1. We close just above it, so another sell signal. 2 sell signals right to next to each other. Now, you would have had to wait a couple of days because it did go up. Depending upon where you placed your stop, you may have said, well, gosh, I may have gotten stopped out if you put a tight stop on there, but we teach you different stop placements in our courses. And if you took one with a little wider range, you'd still be in these trades. And that would have been a wise decision because the stock fell 100 points in just 2 weeks coming into last week, okay? It's funny how it fell when everyone else thought it was bottoming out, making this, traditional cup and saucer formation. We knew the market was telling us it wanted to go lower. All right, let's look at quickly some other markets and other time frames. Here's a chart, the QQQs, the ETF that represents the NASDAQ, all right? As we look here, we see we had that formation right there, a sell signal a couple of weeks ago where you could have potentially made 20 points or thousands of points in the NASDAQ. How about a weekly chart of the dollar yen? Obviously, in hindsight, it's been going straight up, right? All the bars have been colored green, so lots of places to go long here using that 2-bar technique. Or potentially, you could have made 3,500 pips. That's over $3,000 per unit, potentially, on a weekly time frame. Or how about Bitcoin? Here's an hourly chart of Bitcoin. If you're a more aggressive trader and you like to go short, or at least you look at this to get out, well, look at all the sell signals you could have got. It would save you 900 points, or you could have made 900 points selling. So it doesn't matter what time frame, doesn't matter what market. A weekly chart of currency pairs, an hourly chart of Bitcoin makes exactly the same setups regardless of market or time frame. All right, let's recap real quickly. Remember, For buy setups, we want to see two green bars generated right next to each other. And then we want to see that bar number 2 closes below the low of bar number 1. That's a high probability buy area. Okay, you can decide for yourself where you want to get in. For sell setups, we want to see that 2 red bars are generated right next to each other. Now, bar number 2 in this series must close above the high of bar number 1 in the series. All right, that will generate a high probability sell setup. How you decide to exit? If you want to use this to exit a long position, you can, or you can decide to go short, you can buy puts, you can place a limit. It's entirely up to you. Remember, our goal is to provide you with these high probability areas for trading. Your job is to decide how you want to enter, how you want to exit, how you want to place your stop. Remember, you're in charge. Specialist trading never tells you how to trade. We teach you how to trade. It's your job to make your own trading decisions. After trading for 45 years, that's the one truth I found out, that you'll only become consistent if you make your own trading decisions. So ask yourself, after I taught you this technique, there are only 3 months left in the year. Think of that, only 3 months. Do you think this technique can help your trading for the remainder of 2022? I think your answer is yes after you saw those current examples. So here's what we have for you today, a great attendee discount just for taking the time out of your Wednesday. We're going to offer you our roadmap for any market special. This is the PET-D Primo Early Trend Detector. It's our roadmap for any market. You're going to get access to the proprietary color bar algorithm. Now you're going to get 2 trading techniques, 2 more trading techniques, and you're also going to get 2 more pullback trading techniques. All right. So on top of what I just shared with you, you'll get actually 4 more trading techniques. All right. Included with that, you'll get a trailing stop technique. Remember, all of these methods can be applied to any market, any strategy, and any time frame. And here's the great news. Till Friday only, we're going to offer you a full year of the platform for free. Remember, this is easily accessible on our platform. It's not like if you were using another platform where you have to open up the indicator page, scroll down, look through all the indicators, find the PET-D, click it on, click access, have it come on, and then, it take you, by the time you do that, you may have missed the setup. It's easily accessible on our platform. We made it that way. With one click, you can see the colors, and then with one click, you can have them disappear. It's up to you. That's the beauty of trading with the PTS Primo charting platform. So for up until Friday, just for the next 3 or 4 days, you can get a full year absolutely free if you take advantage of this great offer. Now, with the offer included with that, you're not only going to get one-click PET-D access, you'll also get our enhanced buy-sell line. That will tell you the overall trend, 4 different ways to find out what the overall trend is. A strength of trend tool to help you identify when a trend is running out of steam or just beginning. A signal scanner to scan for these setups, to scan for other strategy setups, okay? Entry levels, stop placements, auto-generated exit levels, and personalized tech support. This is all one click away. You'll only find this on our platform, along with the other host of scores of different techniques and tips that I've accumulated in my 45 years of trading that you'll only find on the platform because I've taken them mainly from the trading floor. Now, if you're still not convinced, let me share with you some examples about what happened last week, all right? Now remember, none of our methods, none of our techniques are required to look at fundamental news. But I know a lot of traders like to look at fundamental news. I was trained to look at news myself, so I understand the importance of it when you're first starting out or you've been trained to look at it that way. So let's look at fundamental news, all right? Let's see how powerful it really is. For example, last Wednesday on the 21st, the Fed announced that it intensifies its battle against inflation. So Yahoo Finance reported here that the Fed officials made another large rate increase and signaled more to come, pledging to quash inflation despite expected pain. Now, the Fed announced on Wednesday afternoon that it will raise its benchmark rate by 0.75 of a percentage point in its latest attempt to quash inflation. Chair Jerome Powell gave an update on the central bank's economic outlook and forecast future rate hikes. So that's why the market fell out of bed, right? If we look at the chart, that's terrible news, right? Oh, look at that. That's when the news came out. And hey, Steve, how can you say that news doesn't matter? When this news came out, look what happened to the market. It went straight down after that. Okay, well, okay, let's see how the PET-D would have helped us. Remember, if we apply the PET-D tells us with 3 consecutive bars in this case, red bars, that it wants to go lower. So a full week in advance, we knew it wanted to go lower. So it wouldn't matter if the Fed announcement was in our favor or against our favor. The market was saying, I want to go lower. So who cares what the Fed announcement was? We were already poised to look only for selling opportunities. Now, this is a daily chart of the spiders, all right? So we look for that two-bar pattern that I taught you today, and guess what? Here it is, bar number one, bar number two. So we want to close above the high of bar number one, and there we did. So a full 2 days in advance of the Fed announcement, you could have been short. So how did we know? Is it like someone told us that it was going to be a terrible day in advance, 2 days in advance? And so we told all our students, hey, listen, go short, because Fed Chairman Powell just called me up and said, it's really going to be a bloodbath on Wednesday. No, the market told us in advance. It translated already what it wants to do. There was no reason to wait for the news. You were already short 2 days in advance, all right? Now, let's say we go to a different time frame. Let's go to a smaller one. Instead of potentially making 25 points on a daily time frame, let's go to a 2-hour time frame, okay? Here's the Fed announcement, once again, on the 21st, right here. If we apply the PET-D, we see that once again, way in advance of that, in fact, a full week in advance, going to the 14th or 15th, we knew all the bars were red. And if we look for that 2-bar pattern right here, we could have been short on the 15th, all right, almost a full week in advance of the announcement. And if we missed that one, guess what? We had all these chances later on. Even though we potentially could have made 27 points, look at all the other chances that were given to us days before the Fed announcement, right? Now, let's say we traded on a 30-minute time frame, all right? Here's the Fed announcement, all right? Let's apply the PET-D. Now, the PET-D was green coming into that announcement on a 30-minute time frame. So if we trade intraday, most likely we couldn't have gone short. But that doesn't mean we couldn't have been successful, because look what happened the day after. All of the bars were red, and we had not one, but 2 different technique sell setups to go short. And in 2 days, we could have potentially captured 13 points. So regardless if we caught the Fed announcement or not, there were all these setups to take advantage, and they're always happening. They're always occurring over and over again, whether you're buying or selling. So take advantage of this great offer. This is a roadmap for any market. This is just one of the techniques that you'll learn in the course, okay? This also comes with a trailing stop technique. All right, so usually the PET-D course and the application run for $49.95, okay? And if we apply the platform, a full year of the platform, we're talking close to $6,200. Here's the great offer we have for today. We're not going to charge you $6,200. We're discounting it for limited time only down to $39.95. All right, you save over $2,100. But here's the best thing about this offer. We're also including payment plans. So if you can't come up with $39.95, that's okay. For a small fraction of that, for a small deposit, you can still be up and running and then have a monthly payment established with Pro Trader Strategies. It's that simple. So you can either come up with $39.95 and have it paid out in full, or have a fraction of that, just a one-time payment, and then establish a payment plan, and you can still be up and running as early as today. So this is a great offer. Remember, this is a technique that you can start using as early as today or tomorrow. But this is for a limited time only. You have to take advantage of this as quickly as possible. So here's how to do this. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. I developed a platform with them. They're in charge of all the tech support, as well as all the payment plans and all the discounts. I would highly recommend giving them a call at area code 310, right here, 598-6677. They have trading consultants who would be happy to either answer any question you have, no obligation, or take your order over the phone, or establish a payment plan with you so you can put down a small deposit and be up and running as early as today. Now, that link you see at the very bottom is the link that will take you to the info page, or if you'd like to sign up online, you can do that using that link. It's not a live link, but we've just posted a live link on the chat box. So if you go to the chat box, you'll see a live link posted there. You can click that on, and it will take you to the info and sign up page, all right? Now, I promised you I would answer all your questions towards the end here. So as we have a few minutes left, if you have any questions, just go to the question and answer box or go to the chat box, and I will answer them all to the best of my ability, okay? Someone is asking here, does this work on futures? Yes, it does. I'm sorry I didn't have any futures examples, but to be honest with you, that's where I use it. I use it trading the E-mini futures. That's where I like to trade, since my background is in day trading, because I started out on the floor where you basically are trading in and out in 5 minutes. I use it on 5-minute charts and maybe less sometimes when it's a really strong trending market. So yes, you can use it on intraday charts. You can use it on futures. You can use it on weekly. You can use it on monthly charts. If you're a long-term investor, we have some long-term investors who use it actually on monthly charts. So it actually makes no difference what time frame or what market. We have people that use this on currency pairs. They use it on commodities. They also use it on Bitcoin, on cryptos. So this pattern, this 2-bar pattern, is generated everywhere, over and over again. And that's the beauty of it. But you can only find out where these setups are with the PET D. Okay. How much is the payment plan? Well, that's something you'd have to contact with Pro Trader Strategies. I know a lot of traders, they're frightened to call up because they think, well, if I call up, they're going to pressure me to do it. No, they're there to work with you. They're very flexible. If you want information on how to set up a payment plan, they'll give you the numbers and they'll tell you right there what it is and you can think about it. But please don't sit on this. We have a number of students who sit on it for too long. They know how much they have to come up with. And then they say, gosh, well, let me think about it. And then they'll trade for another month and go, wow, I've lost so much money. I could have used that money for the payment plan. And they go, geez, okay, that was a great deal. Can I do it again? And they say, Pro Trader Strategies may say, I'm sorry, that offer has concluded now. We're on to the next one. So, think about it up until this week, because after this, next week, we will be talking about something entirely different. Okay. Lastly, someone's asking about the stop placement. Can you explain the stop placement technique? Well, I can't go into it because it's a little bit, detailed. And once again, that's all in the course. But rather than using a pattern or price or a percentage of your loss, the PET-D basically just goes off the colors. And it just tells you off the colors whether you should be exiting or still in the trade. And we show you exactly how to do that in the course. Okay. Okay, if there are no further questions, I just want to thank you all once again for attending. I hope you saw the power of this technique. I hope you saw how simple it is, but powerful enough to get your trading back on track. A lot of traders have contacted us. They've contacted Pro Trader Strategies saying how much they've been struggling, and they just don't know if they want to trade anymore or have enough money left. Here's a great way to get your trading back on track, okay? So if you have questions or if you're interested in finding out how much you have to put down for a deposit, contact Pro Trader Strategies. Once again, 310-598-6677. There's absolutely no obligation. They're there to work with you. They'd answer your questions, okay? As we conclude now and take one last look at our disclaimer, I just want to thank you for taking time out of your Wednesday. I really hope you become a consistent trader, and I think the best way to do that is become a student of mine in the PET-D course, okay? Thank you so much for listening, for taking time out of your Wednesday, and hope to see you in class. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.